All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. We got a wild week ahead with more Donald Trump, even Jerome Powell, but now we got to talk about AI because for the first time in like 2 years, I think you finally have your first bearish narrative. Now, Wall Street, or really Silicon Valley, was freaking out over the weekend, and there is a very interesting story going around about Chinese AI, and some people are saying, no, it's fake, it's this, it's not going to compete. Again, if you like AI, you don't want to hear this. If you have been waiting for AI to come down, well, then there's another part of the world that is saying that AI is in trouble and this could be a black swan. And what we are talking about is something called DeepSeek. We mentioned it briefly on stream on Friday. You even saw a little reaction there. And really all it is a Chinese copy of ChatGPT. However, they were able to reproduce it for not as much money, and it can actually compete. Now, I'll break down some of the details for you, but this is where it gets really interesting. So you could look at both sides. Is this going to be the AI killer? Is this going to be a paradigm shift and change anything? We don't know, but these are the questions that people are going to be asking. But now, this is where it gets really good because, like I'm saying, on Friday, people were freaking out. Even over the weekend, people were freaking out on Twitter, even financial media. But if you go to CNBC, people were talking about this literally 3 weeks ago. Now, even from this thumbnail right here, you could see it says developed using NVIDIA H800s. The developers, and when they came out recently, they said that they did it without all of these equipments. Now, some people are arguing they only did that because they don't want to violate the sanctions and admit it, but they also released how they did it. So there's these little pictures going around, and pretty much it's open source, and that's a big part about it. You know, OpenAI, it's not really open source, so they're doing what OpenAI is doing, but then they took all the codes and how they did it and have already released it to the public. But what I'm trying to tell you is that everyone's making a big deal about this. We're probably going to hear a lot of it over this week. I'm going to go in more detail in this video, but at the same time, this was mentioned 3 weeks ago. That clip's going to be too long. I think this one will give you a way better view of all of it.
OpenAI years and billions of dollars to build the latest AI large language models, but now a Chinese research lab has built a competitive model in just 2 months with dumbed down GPUs for less than, get this, $6 million, not billion.
So clearly you could see this is the same story everybody has been talking about, but then essentially what happened over the weekend, it kind of got really popular. Not only did you have people discussing about it and how this could be a threat to the AI industry in the United States, but people started playing around with it, and they're like, yo, this is great. And now you just have a lot of people using DeepSeek. I think in the App Store right now, you have more downloads. It's like reached a higher spot in the App Store than even Anthropic or some of the other AIs that weren't OpenAI. They haven't even done that. So point is, we have a very interesting week ahead of us. There's going to be potentially a new narrative, and now the dynamic between AI and even like China and America, it may get a shift to start off the presidency. So I'm going to go over all of that. I got way more info to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about this week. Then I got a couple of plays, all that good stuff, what we did on Friday. What I need from you, a thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open, youtube.com/The Stock Market. We will see you there in the morning, baby. Run it.
Working to the couch, it's the 2020 election. Live in the hills, but still get a spread. Started with a live, but still reinvest it. Feel how I feel, then you feel it's a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it.
Right off the bat, like I said, this DeepSeek stuff, it is probably going to be one of the more important narratives this week. Obviously, if Donald Trump or Jerome Powell messes anything up, then we are going to focus on that. But as far as AI valuations, this is going to get interesting, or at the very least, this may just be the early days of finally the first narrative that goes against AI just going sky high. So the way I'm viewing it and would I consider this a threat, I kind of do. There is still a lot of things that we don't know yet, and everyone's saying, no, it's not going to be able to compete. There's no way. The chips. Some people are saying, no, it's good if China does all of this stuff and then Americans will have more money. There's a lot of both good answers, cope, and just even fake news going around on this topic. Like I'm saying, the fact that this story was even 3 weeks old or 3 months old. No, it was 3 weeks, but 3 weeks old, and the details have already been altered, and now all of a sudden there's like this giant push and everybody is adopting it. I think that's kind of the bigger threat. But if you're not understanding what really has gone on, you now have China essentially catching up to the AI race. Everybody thought NVDA, and all these American companies were the leader. Tell me, what do you think about China right now? You haven't really heard any crazy narrative there in competition, but now, as far as AI is concerned, if this all is true, if they were able to build powerful AI models without needing billions and hundreds of billions of dollars of chips, that means they are catching up. That is the threat that I think cannot be ignored. And now, even when you hear that, everyone says, well, no, they can't do that. They can't do that. This is the story of what's gone on so far with DeepSeek. It's not like they needed crazy hardware. They altered how they train the AI. So they pretty much trained their AIs a lot more efficiently so that it could do a lot more work on less hardware or without the same resources. And then on top of that, they have now released the code. It's open source. Everybody could verify this and check it, and now other people can start building off of this. That means OpenAI and a lot of these AI places, if they had anything similar and it was proprietary and now all of this is open source, that could lead to an immediate devaluation. Now, obviously, people aren't going to panic, and this is the whole narrative. If this starts to gain steam, if DeepSeek gets bigger and bigger, and you start to see China AI or other people start to reproduce stronger, faster, more powerful AIs without the need of big hardware, that's going to get rid of a lot of this earnings, margin growth, big money driving narrative that AI has had for the last 2 years. So that's why I'm taking it seriously. I think the timeline and timeframes are a little weird, but now we're probably about to find out. I don't think we saw it coming, but China and AI, you are going to have to utter those words, and they may be right on our heels, and that can change the landscape of everything. So hopefully you're getting that. I do have another follow-up because, again, I've heard people say, why is this a big deal? Or even people calling it a black swan, and why? And you got to think about it because we do have a big week now of earnings. We'll talk about that here in a second, but so far the going narrative is you need billions and billions of dollars to compete in AI. Everybody's back ordered. Even if you spend billions, it's still slow. And if this DeepSeek thing is fully true and we start seeing more people do that, that kind of just shows, no, that's not really the case. Yeah, it's still going to be expensive, but not like billions of dollars expensive. And then on the other hand, this is the big thing now, valuation and even like shareholders. You got to think about it. The last 2 years, we have applauded and rewarded companies for spending a bunch of money on AI. I think even Meta announced that the other day and the stock even went up, even though we got Meta at $90 because they spent too much money. But now you got to think about it. This Chinese development, what people are talking about, you could pretty much reproduce what OpenAI does for 10 cents on the dollar, or a penny on the dollar, really. It's literally 10 times cheaper to do all this. So what about all these companies that are spending this money, have already spent it? That means it was probably a really bad decision, especially if we're going to start seeing it get extremely cheaper way sooner than people thought. We knew this would happen, but not on this time frame, and then not by China kind of undercutting you out of nowhere. So we'll see where it takes us, but this is going to be a big deal of this week. And then finally, this is what we waited for, man, Jerome Powell. So on Wednesday, we are going to get a FOMC. There is no summary of economic projections. It may be a little chiller. Markets are a little bit higher than Powell. We did have that little fiasco where we sold off, but he's going to give us a little bit more guidance. We'll see if anything has changed his mind from Trump, the economy, the dollar, oil, and all of that. But he's going to give us this final, again, driver confirmation or not. Should we still be worried about the bonds? So I'm going to use this opportunity to remind you, yeah, DeepSeek, that's cool. Donald Trump, it's cool and all, but just don't forget, man, we were just panicking based off of where the bond yields were at. You kind of topped out at 5. I even have a chart. But don't forget, these rates were a big deal. I mean, this is just going back to 2019, but rates we were recently at, that 5%, that was still scary. Yeah, we bounced off of it. Donald Trump saying he'll demand lower rates, but even then, our other good friend, the dollar, these aren't at levels where you can necessarily feel comfortable. So now if we have Jerome Powell, he's going to confirm rates. We're even going to get a little bit of data here and there. Obviously, Powell and Trump are going to cause things, but we need to see what's going to go on with the bonds. If anything happens, Powell signals something that brings them down, you may be right back into panic faster than you could say it, and vice versa. If Powell could confirm things, dollar and the bonds chill out, we're going to be good. But all of that stuff we were talking about just in the last couple of months, it still remains. Bonds still just move slow. Yeah, we've came off the bottom there a little bit, but you are decisively still in that range that gave us a lot of pressure. So don't forget about that. And that's why Jerome Powell this week will be important. We're going to be watching out for that. And then earnings, that's going to be a lot. All of the Mag 7, I think like 6 or 7 of them, they will be reporting. We're going to hear all that data. Let's see how the DeepSeek stuff comes into it. But fact is, even looking at the economic data and how things have started out with Trump, I don't think earnings should be bad. I think this story is going to be about guidance. We're going to talk about it on the plays, but you're going to hear about the dollar. Maybe we'll hear about AI and CapEx, and let's see how people take it. But the earnings could be good this quarter. I really think, though, the market, especially if we're going to start reacting to other narratives and be so jumpy on trade policy, then guidance from these companies will be crucial. So watch out for that. But other than that, I think it's going to be a very simple week. We'll see where the DeepSeek stuff takes us, then Donald Trump and Powell, and then earnings season. And then before you know it, it'll be March. It'll be like, where'd the time go? And then all that. But now, let us get into the plays. So, right off the bat, baby, I think it's only right. We got to start with K-Web. So, obviously, I'm going to look at NVIDIA and any of the AI plays. If this gets more fear in the morning and people are really tripping out, I think this could be something. And really, the next, dagger, I think, on this trade, if you are going to watch AI drop, it's going to be when another Chinese company comes out and says, hey, look at what we got now, too, and then the race is off. So I'd watch out for that. But other than that, I'm going to keep an eye on China. I've been liking it. That is one of the humiliation trades. Like we said, everybody has written off China for quite some time. And maybe this AI news, if it gets traction, there's China tech companies, the Alibabas, the Chinese Amazons. You can pretty much find them out there. So I want to see if we have a reaction. I have some old K-Webs that we made free. They're still down. Then we lost on some of those January ones. I think that was ARK. But I like this play. I've been waiting for the right set of things. You've had Donald Trump go easy. Now we have DeepSeek. All you really need is a good trade deal with China and then I think we'll be good. But I did bring this up. You're going to hear it on the next play. But I said this on stream, and mark this watch list. China bottoms when oil tops. That is how I feel about this whole scenario. I've been looking at China for a long time. I've looked at it for a while. We even added some to the long term, but I firmly believe that is the answer. Once we see oil come down and really stay down, I think that's going to open up the door for China, assuming there is not the most unfavorable trade deal between them and Trump. So we will see, but going to be watching that. I think it is going to be right in the mix, and I think they'll get rewarded heavily with this DeepSeek stuff. Again, I think China plays kind of got neglected, so let's see if this narrative could get it any legs. But that is play number 1, and play number 2, baby. Oil, and I'm telling you, this is the answer. So really, it goes both ways, and I'm telling you, it doesn't matter your politics on this. I think oil is going to determine a lot of policy success or failure. If oil rockets up and stays up, inflation goes higher, probably means wars are continuing. Tariffs will be a lot harder to impact as you're getting that inflation, higher commodity prices. If you try to raise prices on trade and policy, it's not going to be favorable, or it'll have less of an impact, or it'll hurt you more. So if oil is up, I think it makes a lot of Donald Trump's goals very difficult. If oil stays down, then I think that's a good sign for all of the administration objectives, and they could start doing their tariffs. Literally, if you didn't see it over the weekend, Colombia was like giving issues with American planes bringing back people that we were deporting, and Trump said something about it, and they gave him issues, and then he sanctioned them. That was all this morning. Sanctioned them 25%, and they said, okay, we'll help out, and then they sent the presidential plane. So point is, you could do that when it works, you have the power, but like, you need oil down. You can't have these policies having a negative effect on consumers and people back home. Otherwise, it'll be perceived as unpopular. So we'll watch how it all plays out, but I think this is a very interesting dynamic, even with the emerging markets in China. So watch out for it. But if things are going to go well politically, oil goes down. If things are not going to go well politically, I think oil is going to rocket. So we will see where it leads us, but that is play number 2. And then finally, play number 3, man, earnings. Microsoft, Meta, Apple, Amazon, Tesla. There's going to be a lot of the other ones that could still move. I think we have big ones like Twilio on Friday that actually ended up moving a decent amount. So there will be a lot of plays. Remind me on stream. I'll get you guys the previews, but I will just tell you this, man. Like I already said, dollar and guidance is going to be the answer. Obviously, Microsoft, Meta, Apple, we want to see how they do. A lot of them have high bars, and if they are related to AI, let's see what they say about competition. But it really seems like if anything bad or very good is going to happen, it's going to be in either very grim or very optimistic forward-looking outlooks. And then the dollar, how do people talk about that? That Forex impact, again, that's been the strongest trade-weighted dollar in a very, very long time. So if you make money overseas, you got to explain that. Have you hedged? Is it going to hurt you, help you? And then we will find out. But if we don't have anything, it's kind of been, again, the last couple days with Trump, it's like super exciting one day, then it slows down, then it's super exciting, then it slows down, a lot of red light, green light. So think about it. You got Trump, then we're going to be getting Powell, then you got these earnings, and then we're going to have, is the AI bubble bursting or not? So should be very exciting. We'll see where it all takes us, but those are the main plays. As far as the plays I made on Friday, I did a couple. I did AMH. This is a home building company. They're smaller. They got to upgrade. They had a loose mention to some of the political stuff, and like I was telling you, Trump outlined a lot of stuff with real estate, but didn't really fully get into it. So I am expecting more. I'm fully speculating on this. I don't know anything, so I am just speculating. I grabbed 10 of the AMH September 50 calls at 20 cents. So we had the Redfins last week. This is part of those plays. Then MO, there was news about Trump lifting the menthol ban. So saw 1 cent options. I thought I made them free. It showed up as free on Friday. I even stream alerted it. Then I looked and I had all of them. I thought I bought 10 and then made it 5, but apparently I only got 5, so that one is very odd, but I only bought them at 1 cent. I did this a couple times lately. There's been some decent 1 cent options that are kind of playable. I like them because if they just get a bid, I mean, you're able to make them free and then ride them out. So I did it on this news play again, got a little bit of time, but it's super far out of the money. And then I played Beckin. This one was crazy. There was a buyout offer. We started watching QXO start moving, and then I started looking up the news, found something about Beckin. There was a rumor about them getting an offer, and then they started going up, and then I was able to get the buyout price, and it was a lot lower. It was like 120. Stock was at like 110 or something. So we had a quick flip, 300%, but once I knew my strike price was out of the buyout range, we sold out of that, and then that was it. And then finally, there was a little bit of a quick drop. Maybe it was some of the DeepSeek stuff on Friday, but I grabbed it next week, 140, put at 1 cent again, $10. So very small. I played a lot less the first couple of weeks, so I don't want to get too out of hand, but again, keeping them small, especially if we're in a moment where either bubbles burst or pop up from here. First 100 days, these small plays have been good, so I have no problem with it, baby. But other than that, we'll see where this week takes us, see which narrative becomes the driver, what Powell says, and then we'll be live there for any Trump updates, baby. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure Hydrate Healthy ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. And I need you to remember, you are made here for a purpose, and you must grow, my brother. You either grow or go bad. A egg does not get wings until it is hatched, my friend. Oh, yeah, it's game time. Are you ready? Bigger and better things, my brother. But Chad, I love you all. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Drink that water. Stay hydrated, healthy, all that good stuff. Follow the rules of the chat. I'll see you in the morning again. Horn.